And we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to another week of my quarantine. Actually, another week. I'm actually got tomorrow's my last day in quarantine, and a few people asked me, Nick, are you okay? Are you sick? Yes, I'm feeling great. I'm fantastic. I just came back from the U.S. I was training. I was teaching my edged weapon defensive tactic instructor course to police force in the U.S. So Vincent, what's up, my man? Vincent, how do I make you a monitor? Let me just uh, add moderator. There we go. You're the moderator right now, Vincent. So I just came back from training the defensive tactics, my instructor course to the instructors of police force in the U.S. So when I came back, I was in quarantine for 2 weeks. So I have a couple more days left, and that's why I'm going live every day. And I'm answering and taking your questions and your comments. So keep those bots out of the chat, absolutely. So today I'm going to answer a very common question that I get. And again, I'm basically doing these live because I could get to answer some of your comments, some of your questions as we're talking about something, as we're talking about how to deal with your fear and management and stress of being in a fight and an attack. And I could give you guys. Do you live in Greece? No, Kostaki. I live in Montreal, Canada. Vincent, I'm not sure. Since you're the moderator, can we take out the comments for a little bit? If you could just take out the comments until I tell you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the different type of stresses, the different type of adrenalines, understanding a little bit fear, right? So first I'm going to start by, this is probably one of the best books I read on understanding fear management. And it's not about not being afraid, about being afraid, about the fear will always be there. It's about learning how to manage it and learning how to use it as even as fuel when you're fighting for your life or when it comes time to fight back or to survive. So a book I highly recommend right here is The Gift of Fear. It's an old book, but I mean, when I read it, and I've read it, about 2 or 3 times, and sometimes I'll go back and I'll read it again just to like refresh it because it really helped me understand fear. I can't as a modern ink. I'm sorry, I could only give people a break. Okay, great. I could only share through my experience of being in working in clubs, working in security, seeing people get attacked, being attacked, seeing people get stabbed, being right there right before the fight is about to break out, right? So I'll also talk a little bit about the different types of adrenaline, the different type of fears, what they each do, and how to manage it, how to control it, right? So the first thing I'm going to tell you guys about, let's look at it from a sport perspective, right? So you're about to get in the ring, you get that adrenaline, that nervousness, your body starts to maybe shake, or you start. There's a certain amount of fear, but I always tell people, I try to break down the fear, like, what are you afraid of? Like, let's start breaking down what you're afraid of, so we get to the real root of the belief behind the fear of what are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid of looking bad, not performing, getting knocked out, losing, people making fun of you, not being strong enough, not being good enough? You need to start addressing as much as possible, or whatever, at some point. You need to look at what are you actually afraid of? What is the idea or the belief behind that fear that makes you, and is the fear real? Right? That's a really important question, right? Is it a whole story that you've made up in your head before the fight or before the attack? You've actually played out exactly what's going to happen, or is it actually happening right now, right? And that kind of fear goes for overall any type of fear that we might face in our daily life, right? So, I'm going to compare it to fighting in the ring. There's a fear. There's that fear, but I'm not actually fearing I'm gonna die. I'm not fearing for my life. I'm more fearing of not performing, not looking good, not being up to that level. there's you know, there's an adrenaline, but again, it's not the same as being faced in the street or being in a real attack that your life really depends on it, right? So I don't want to get too much into that, because what we want to do is cover more self-defense and that fear of when you know the person's about to attack you, if he's pulling out a knife, if you know that you have no choice but you're about to fight and fight for your life. And that's where the fear is a gift, meaning, and it says that in the gift of fear, where I always said when I'm afraid, that's when I fight the best. Because I know that when I feel that fear, it means that it's not a drill, it's not a scenario, it's not for fun, it's not a training, it's my life. And when I feel that fear, it's when I'm the most aggressive, is when I I go more into my primal instincts. It's more when I've actually made the decision that right now my life is in danger and I'm gonna have to fight with everything I have, right? So that the idea that, you know, and if you wanna manage that fear, I was thinking, not becoming paranoid. Yes, I'm gonna talk about that after. If you wanna manage, people tell me, well, how do you manage your fear? One, I'll give you a great example. If you've never done knife defense and you have no idea what to do and somebody will attack you with a knife, for sure, your brain is gonna start trying to find an answer, a solution. It's gonna do this, right? The fear is gonna be very real because you have no clue and no idea what to do. And trying to manage it is gonna be much harder because your response is gonna be like, what do I do? And at the very moment, your brain is trying to find a solution of what it could do to survive. So, the more you know about a subject, the less chances you have of freezing, freaking out, or, you know, allowing fear to completely like freeze you where you can't do anything, right? That's where the fear management comes in. However, if you train, if you do full out scenarios, if you've trained knife defense, if you train a scenario that maybe you're afraid of, if you do martial arts, if you train pressure test, if you train with adrenaline, if you train with overkill drills and complete exhaustion mentally and physically, and that will allow you and help you a little bit more to understand how to manage fear in a high stress situation, right? So the idea is not, a lot of people tell me, Nick, how do I stop that feeling of being afraid? It's, you know, and the great example was I spoke to a fireman. We were shooting a short movie together. I'm like, let me ask you, George, every time you go in the building, in a building, you see it's full of flames, you got to put on that suit and go inside. Are you afraid? He goes, every time. Every time, because when we go in there, we don't know what we're going to find. We don't know what's inside. It's just fire. We don't really know where we're going. So every time we're full of adrenaline, I'm afraid, but I trust on my training that I've done. This is what I've trained to do. This is what I still train. This is what I've picked as a career and a profession, and this is what I've done. So as afraid as I am, I'm able to manage, overcome that fear, and find courage to follow courage with fear and go in there and do that, right? So, I mean, and a lot of it, guys, has to do with training, right? You want to, you know, if you're afraid of getting punched in the face, and you're like, I have this big fear of getting punched in the face, then you should be sparring, right? I don't mean go full out and get knocked down and get punched in the face, but start sparring and start gradually. You know, feel what it is to get hit in the face. Maybe tell somebody, you know what, I want to do a little bit of sparring. Can you just hit me in the face, but go really light, just so you don't panic and freeze in the moment, right? So, yeah, again, the more you know about a subject, the less chance you have of freezing, panicking, freaking out, creating reactions that are much bigger than what you're actually facing. Thank you, guys. One thing I know, is anyone afraid even of the toughest one? So I'll take one thing to know is that anyone is afraid even of the toughest ones. You know, guys, you have to understand, when we look at fighting in the ring and fighting in the street, in the ring, you could kind of predict the outcome of the fight. You know that worst case scenario, there's, let's say, death, which is probably 0.00 whatever. Second one is getting knocked out, breaking your ribs, concussion, which is, again, a higher percentage. but you're never actually going in there thinking, I might not come out and go to my family. There's still a level of control and security, and more or less and can dictate a little bit of the worst case scenario. And I always do worst case scenario. In the street, you don't know that. You don't know your attacker. You don't know who you're fighting. You don't know their mindset. You don't know if they're holding a knife, if they want to kill you. You don't know if maybe he might knock you out and you might go to the ground. Doesn't mean the fight stops for him there. He might continue and try to punch you, stab you. So you have more or less, you have no idea what can happen in a real fight. And therefore, that's what makes it so dangerous and at the same so scary, right? And that's why I tell people, when you flip the switch and you decide to fight, you got to go all the way with it. You cannot hit apologetically. You cannot hit with regret. You cannot hit with quote unquote with fear, with like, oh, what happens if I don't hit him hard enough, or I don't want to hit him hard. When you decide to switch that, put that switch on, you got to go all the way with it. You know what I mean? Until, again, the level of threat must parallel the amount of force and threat must parallel. And again, the moment that you disengage and you have time to escape and run, you get out. So let me take some of your questions, guys. Anita, thank you. We are afraid of getting hurt, not the opponent. That's how, we are afraid of getting hurt, not the opponent. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, Nick, how do you defend against a child with a knife, 15-year-old in Netherlands children? That's crazy, Vincent, and I heard about that. I mean, the hard thing about that is a 15-year-old with a knife can take your life, right? The idea that he's going to stab you somewhere where he's not planning to kill you, the idea that he might slash you and stab you with when you're faced with a knife and it starts moving in full speed, one shot in the carotid or the jugular, anything to the subclavian, when you see a 15-year-old with a knife, I'm looking at an attacker with a knife, and you got to go. To me, I would just go ballistic on him. I personally don't care, because I know how dangerous a knife is in close quarter range. And the idea that he's not as lethal or as dangerous because he's 15 years old, to me doesn't mean squat. You know what I mean? So I would treat him like the most dangerous person the most dangerous person in the world, right? So the size is irrelevant when you're holding that weapon. The adrenaline helps. I find it reminds adrenaline good, and do not suppress your reaction. Absolutely, the adrenaline, guys. Adrenaline is what's gonna keep you going. The adrenaline is what's gonna help you take that punch, get stabbed, and keep fighting. That feeling you get prior is your adrenaline, right? The thing with the adrenaline, however, and there's different types of adrenaline. When you're sparring, you're not in a full adrenaline like in the street. When you're sparring, you're getting adrenaline, and you're kind of spiking it and bringing it down. Because if you go full force with adrenaline, if you were fighting for your life, you wouldn't be lasting that many rounds and that many minutes. You'd be out. However, when you're fighting for your life and your adrenaline kicks in the street, it's gonna go from 0 to 100. It's gonna maybe go up to a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and after that, in a survival fight or flight, it's gonna crash after that, right? And you're gonna feel completely depleted of energy, right? So, and I remember when I used to spar in the ring, and then, and I'm not talking about kicking the young kid out who's drunk. I mean, when shit just hit the fan, and then after the fight, I remember I was shaking for I was driving, I was going home, and my body was shaking. I couldn't sleep. My heart was racing. I was having adrenaline. I would just not sleep, because it was, that fight or flight, and the adrenaline was so strong, and that it completely depleted my energy. And I remember the worst part of it is going home at night after a real big fight, and playing the scenario over and over in my head. What did I do? What could I have done? What did I do wrong? Shit, I should have done this. Why did I let that happen? And that's the worst part, you know what I mean? After you beat yourself after the event, which is never productive, But it's okay if you do it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we're trying to break it down and make sense of it, of replaying the scenario in our head. I have the toilet, my anger, tears, I never learned to handle a problem. Nick, I find confrontation, I feel very emotional. Is that normal? I feel like I'm about to get upset. Yeah, I'm a little bit like that too, man. Depending on your character, I'm a very emotional person. Not a lot of things trigger me, but when it does, um, you know, um, when there's certain things that are going to trigger a response, and I know that when that flip switch goes up and it's like, all right, now you really pissed me off, now it's on. It's I do, there's no doubt, there's that anger, there's that rage, and you kind of need it. However, you also don't want to go blank where you're just throwing wild punches and whatever, and you still have to stay somewhat focused, right? You got to stay, you need that anger and that rage and that drive where you're like, I'm going to go all the way with this, but you also need to stay focused and stay in the present moment, and still, not just wailing punches and screaming and yelling, but being as well, technical, or, staying present with your fighting skills, right? And again, that is done through training. A lot of scenarios, a lot of full out scenarios, live drills, handicap drills, mental and physical exhaustion drills. That's what's going to develop that for you to fight in that fight or flight, that high stress situation. So we try to reenact it, replay it. I try to create all of those emotions in the drills, in the scenarios, and then allow the student to train under those circumstances. I've seen a video where a young kid took some small kid knife to try to scare old guy, but the older guy just laughed at him and the kid didn't do anything. Look, that could happen, for sure. Have you ever heard of Lee Morrison? I've heard of Lee Morrison. I like him very much. I've seen his videos. I like his content. He's a real deal, so definitely. Guys, here's the thing. So, the kid pulled out a knife and the older man laughed, right? And that scenario could have changed, and the older man could have laughed, and maybe the kid decide to charge him and stab him. Anything could happen, right? So it's hard for me to say, okay, don't take it serious or take it serious, right? Well, I can tell you, against the knife, take it serious, because I've trained enough and I've seen. Now it depends if the kid's 5-8 feet away, and here's where the gift of fear comes in. Your intuition will tell you, right? So I always say, when I feel afraid, I know the threat is real. When I feel that, my intuition and my instinct tells me, okay, this kid's serious, this kid's gonna stab me, right? And I've been in situations working in the club where the guy's like, oh yeah, you wanna fight, he's in the stand, and I'm looking at him, and I'm the least not even nervous. I'm like, and I'm just thinking, okay, I could tell he's all talk. Why? Because he's 10 feet away. Now, if he's walking towards me and he's getting close and he's trying to bridge that gap, chances are now he wants to fight. So what they say and what they do are two different things. And that's why we say study the body language and the movement more than the words. Listen to the words, because sometimes the words can be an indicator of what he's planning to do. But a lot of times the attacker will make his next move with his body language. If he wants to throw a punch, he's got to get into the range. If he wants to kick you, he's got to get into his range. If he wants to stab you, he's got to get in close, and he's got to have the weapon concealed or the weapon's already out. So you want to be studying and training a lot of those, and not just, what is he saying? Nick, what do you do if you get attacked and a passenger, but the attacker got a knife and stuff? To plug your book okay, when are you going to plug your book? I'm actually working on a book, guys. I'm going to take Vincent's question. What do you do if your vision is damaged? I've been pepper sprayed or eye poked. What is your strategy? So a good drill to do, Vincent, with that is I do a lot of drills with my eyes closed. Learn how to fight with your eyes closed. And what does that mean? Close your eyes, right? When you grapple, close with your eyes grappled. Learn how to find the target with your eyes closed. Learn how to trap. Learn how to work with your elbows and your body to trap and strike without needing your vision, right? I remember one time I was play fighting with my son, and he went whack, and he finger jabbed me right in the eyes, and I did this, and I stopped. And obviously it's my son, we're play fighting, but in reality, the idea is not to stop. When you get eye poked or hit, or you know what I mean, even if you're doing overkill drills, you have to keep on fighting. So you don't stop, you keep on going, and you keep training to develop that. Your tire drill is forcing you, that's it. So it's the same thing we did, right? You get in the tire, you do the tire drill, and it forces you to fight in close quarter, right? And then you could use the drill and close your eyes and strike one at a time, or learn how to clinch on the inside, or just work on sticking, that Kung Fu principle, sticking, striking, okay? Yeah, so I'm planning to write a book, guys. Absolutely. I had a friend of mine who bashed 3 attackers with crowbars and bats who were facing, just swing a belt buckle in the heads and run away. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, again, you might strike the guy and he might run, he might not. It's hard to seeing every moment that makes you afraid. Seeing every moment that makes you afraid in life as training for you become stronger as a person. Help me in my life. Absolutely, guys. So another thing, thanks to Vincent, I'm going to be writing, guys, a very interesting book. I'm working on it. So another thing, guys, is when you're training, like when I'm doing my combat conditioning, lifting weights, I'm doing my movements, I'm conditioning my mind. I talk to myself, I say certain things to wire my brain and my body at the same time as I'm conditioning my body, I'm conditioning my mind. And when I do scenarios, I try to do scenarios that replicate, what I'm afraid of, or what would I be most concerned about being faced. And I always, not anymore, guys, because it's hard for me now, plus like it's more injury prone. But when I used to work in security, I used to overkill that shit. 4-on-1, 3-on-1, 5-on-1, with a knife, a bat, and I always ended up, getting hit, falling on the ground. But the idea was just to create that overkill and condition myself to always learn to just fight through everything and anything, right? It's not for nothing in military, they do scenario training. They put them through scenarios where they hear the bullets, they fall, they even have the sense of what it smells like. So like this, they have less chances of being like completely overwhelmed when they're on the battlefield. And you want to scale that as much as possible to in a self-defense context. Nick, when you are your girlfriend and you get attacked by a gang, what do you do? Look, man, I'm with my girlfriend and somebody attacks me. Man, it doesn't matter how many they are. I'm going apeshit on them, man. And obviously my first thing is to protect my girlfriend, and the second thing is I'm gonna fight nonstop. Nick, I've been in a few confrontations, a few diffused them, but I also engaged with them. I would have hurt him and threatened him, but I think I made the right choice. Look, guys, in the street, if you can diffuse a fight, always opt for diffusion. Diffuse, de-escalate, put your ego aside. It's not worth it. Again, you don't know who you're dealing with in the street, right? I worked in clubs. I saw gang members. I saw some dangerous people. Some of them you wouldn't even think it, right? So because I experienced that, I understand I've kept my ego in check, and to be humble in the street, because you never know who you're dealing with. But I've also trained myself that if you pass a certain wall of mine or threshold, or if you step on a certain limit, then the fight is on. And when the fight is on, you better believe you have a fight on your hands. You have a fight. And I train to be like a pit bull. I don't freaking stop. I don't stop. You have to kill me, or I just keep coming back and coming back. And that mindset is the same mindset I have in my life, in my business, in my career, and anything I do. I'm a persistent, consistent person. So in my training, in my fighting, I plug those the same way. Nick, I just went to a Greek restaurant last week. I had, what is your favorite food? Greek food, brother. Octopus, tzatziki, and a beer. Boom, that's my favorite. Hopefully you'll come to Montreal one day, or I'll come to Amsterdam, and we'll have a couple of beers and go have some Greek food. Nick, if I gain, Nick, have you ever knocked someone out in the street, and how did you do it? Man, I've knocked out a few people, and headbutts, palm strikes, elbows. A lot of elbows, guys, because I train. A lot of fights happen in close quarter range, right? So as a bouncer, sometimes you don't go directly into striking. You're going to clinch and grab the person because you don't want to knock him out. You want to try to control him and throw him out and not go into striking. So because you're always in close quarter and you're grabbing, boom, just that elbow. So I trained a lot, my headbutts, my elbows, and my knees, because most fights happen in close quarter range. And those are great striking tools, as well as anybody knows, when I worked in clubs, I used to tell guys, your head's gonna go slamming on a bar, a door frame, just. That's awesome, Vincent. Thank you for moderating, guys. And go check out Vincent Chat Combat, guys. Make sure to subscribe to his channel. I was on his YouTube channel, and he's had some awesome guests, and he just had Bass Rutten on. So you guys go check it out. So Vincent MMA, go check him out on his YouTube channel. Situational awareness can't stop 90% of the fights. Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. Situational awareness is everything. Being aware of your surroundings. Where are you? How many are they? Being able, think of fighting like a game of chess. I always say if an attacker is going to attack you, he's got to get at least 3 to 5 feet to you. He's gotta see you, he's gotta stalk you, and he's gotta attack you. He's gotta break his range and then attack you. So if you're always aware, you're either able to intercept the attack and just letting your attacker know that you're there, breaking him just by looking at him and know you're there, or if he was to grab you, because you're already aware, the instant you know you're in a position, boom, your reaction is to strike right away. That's why I always train starting the fight or the attack, not when the punch is thrown. I'm like, okay, if a guy punches, no. Let's do everything prior to the punch, to the hit. Train the shit out of that more than anything else. And then you'll avoid everything. That means you'll either be prepared to intercept the attack, to escape, to run if you have to, or if you're ready to fight, you'll be able to go preemptive, to counter way before he even expects it, because you're already 2 steps ahead. As I'm a good boxer and brown belt in karate, I'm good on my feet, but I always think, absolutely, man. Look, you're not going to do, you're the best. Also shared your channel with my training partner. They love your stuff as well. Thank you, Vincent. No, I'll work on the below average. I'm 57 though. Will this advice work even though I'm below average? Absolutely. My oldest client I was training for self-defense was 65 years old. His name is Tom Stewart. He came, he booked my schedule for a week. We did 1 week of privates. He's like, I want to train with you all week. So, he booked me for the entire week. Can my students train at your gym? No, I only do privates right now. And I'm in Montreal, so unless you're in Montreal. So, to answer your question, I only trained Tom Stewart was 65. He had problems, his shoulder, his knee. So, I trained him in his self-defense. I trained him with his abilities that he has. I wasn't teaching him fancy moves or fancy kicks or things that, your average MMA or young guy could do. I'm like, okay, what can you do and what can't you do at 65 years old? How do we teach you how to defend yourself from there? And then you see when you're training a 65-year-old, well, he can't lift his arms above his shoulders. Well, okay, let's look at the strikes you can do from here. Can you use your legs? Well, you have a knee problem, so you can't go on one leg. Okay, can you throw knees? So I had to break everything down and then just teach him and create a system within what he could do. So I always say, whether it's me or anybody else, create a system within a system that works for you. So take what I teach you, take what others teach you, and through training and pressure testing and drilling, right, you will be able to see, okay, this works for me. This, like when I do knife defense drills, right, I pressure tested, and I purposely pressure tested with guys shorter than me, my height, a little bit taller, and Big Nick, who's 6'7". And there was certain stuff I could pull off with somebody who was shorter, somebody who I could pull off the taller, somebody who was a little bit taller didn't work, and somebody who was like Big Nick didn't work at all. So what did that teach me, right? Through pressure testing, I learned that not everything works for everybody all the time. So I needed to create different drills that students can learn what works and what doesn't work, and put them in that situation to actually be able to explore. And what I call play, it's like play fighting, but through real movements and actually learning what works and what doesn't work. Do you kick bigger, stronger attackers? Again, yeah, you could kick the knee, kick them in the balls. I mean, it depends, right? At the end, people always tell me, Nick, can you do this? Everything works and nothing works. It depends on, people say, oh, should I strike first? It depends. Do you see him reaching for a knife or you don't? Right? Should I kick him? Am I in kicking range? Do I train my kicks? Could I throw a low line kick to the knee? Is he in range? Always think of fighting is improvising. It's in the moment. Don't focus on anything. Learn everything and learn how to use what tool at the right time. For sure, if you have a nice side kick and you could kick right to the knee, why not? Kick the knee, kick inside the thigh, absolutely. If you can get it, go in there and get it, guys, absolutely. This is a very good live, guys. Again, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you want to learn more self-defense, guys, go visit my website, nickdrossos.com. I have brand new fight analysis, access to my seminars, larger attacker series, knife defense series, hero program, tons of content exclusive only on nickdrossos.com, as well access to my seminar. So there's a lot of stuff there, guys. It's only $10 a month. As well as I have my instructor course next year in Montreal. Spaces are limited, so if you want to train with me and be certified, come train for a whole weekend with me and other people who are, self-defense enthusiasts. It's for all levels. You could be a beginner and come and attend this seminar. And that's it, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, to hit the bell. Vincent, thank you again for moderating. And make sure to check out Vincent's channel as well, guys. Support him. What's coming up? I'm actually finishing the 12 videos for the Hero program. Guys, I'm finishing the last 12 videos for the Hero program, as well as I'm doing a new tactical weapon series where I'm actually going to be breaking them down. That's all going to be on my website. I'm also doing a home invasion series, a lot of new series that I'm working on. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Vincent, my man, thank you. And sorry, guys. I think I'm going to continue this live. I keep saying I'm going to go, but I see best martial arts for a fight. I did that, man. Go check it out a couple of days ago. Normal, aggressive versus drunk. Which is people are more difficult? Normal, aggressive, or versus drunk? I find fighting drunk people has their benefits and their drawbacks. Their benefits are sometimes their coordination is a little bit off. Their timing is a little bit off. The drawbacks is that they're more aggressive. They're a lot less aware of what they're doing. They're less conscious of the level of attack. They're not thinking. They're not in a clear state of mind of what they're doing and the consequences of it. So that's what makes them more dangerous, and that believe that they think they're so strong. But again, because they have that belief, but they're all are losing their motor skills as well in that. Doing it, but good to myself. Many of you need to do a video on martial arts that don't work and can get people. Kirill, I thought of doing that video, martial arts that don't work. I am not the type of instructor that wants to bash other instructors and say their system is shit and we live. I mean, I don't want to point fingers and say this guy sucks, this guy's good. And I clearly have my opinion on a few instructors that are really bad out there. I just don't share it and don't want to share it. I don't want to be, I don't want to be known as a better instructor. I don't want to be the best at what I do because I could say these guys suck. I want to be the best at what I do because I want to push myself and keep being better and having people say, wow, what he's teaching is good versus me saying these guys suck, therefore I'm better. It's very mature. Again, guys, and I'm going to close it with this. I see channels and other instructors bashing other instructors, making fun of other instructors. I stay away from all that. I think it doesn't serve anyone or the industry any good. Like I said, I don't want to say I'm better because he sucks. I'm better because I'm working my ass off. I'm training. I'm constantly learning. Guys, I'm going to be 44. I'm still training my ass off. I'm still training. I'm still working with people and picking up new techniques, new moves. And always saying, okay, I do it this way. Oh, wow, maybe I can try it that way. Maybe I could integrate what I'm teaching in here instead of hooking it this way. Maybe I'll hook it this. I'm always playing and trying to make whatever I do and teach a little bit better, right? And, I'm training with Xavier. He's a pro MMA fighter. I trained for a year with Davis. I'm still going to be training with him on and off. It's just a schedule. And Xavier is a different type of instructor. And, he has a judo, a black belt in judo. So he's teaching me some judo now. I haven't done much judo. And, I mean, some of it could work. Some of it I'm not sure. But, what I like about Xavier, we're just playing. We're playing with the different movements. We're sparring. I'm exploring knife defense in different ways. And, and the next thing I'm going to be doing soon, and I'm going to be taking Sambo. So, and that's something I know nothing about. I know nothing about Sambo. And I looked into it and I said, you know what, shit, I saw a video and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going to go do some Sambo and learn as much as I could from it. We just did an interview with Xavier, amazing. He's an amazing guy, very positive, good mindset. He's going to be fighting in the United Arab Emirates. And he's going to be back here training with me. And, the reason why I do it once a week, I want to keep my skills intact, my timing, my speed, my footwork. I want to see what I could learn new. I have a sparring partner. So I never stop learning. I'm still pushing myself. And as an instructor, I want to lead by example. I want to be 50 still making videos and fighting because it's not only about learning how to fight and learning self-defense moves. It's about me leading by example and inspiring and motivating all of you watching, no matter what your age, to eat well, to exercise, to stay healthy, and keep training because I want to stay strong for as long as I can, for me, for all my viewers, for my family. And not to lie, as I'm getting older, the injuries are coming out more, especially the fact that I beat my body for years. But I'm changing the way I'm training now. And I'm a lot more conscious and aware, and I've modified my training that is less impact and stress on the body because I gotta be more careful at my age. So guys, I wanna thank you for watching. Vincent, my man, let's talk about when we're gonna have you on my show. Thank you guys, make sure to subscribe, to hit the bell, share the video, stay safe and stand strong.